go. Happy Monday, people, on the Morning Night Live. How you doing? I'm Marty, the guy behind the microphone, a.k.a. P-Dog Knight. And big weekend this weekend. Lots of things going on in my own life and in the world. The great debut of, well, that young lady who some of you say is not a lady, but it doesn't matter. She's back. We'll talk about that. Lots of sports in the news, lots of news in the news, lots of politics and all the other stuff that we do here on the show. Are you ready? That's my only question. Are you ready? I know I am. So, how about we get this thing started? Like we usually do with, well, Johnny, do me a favor and play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only P-Dog Knight.
And I am so happy to be here. Stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I am your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Knight on the internet. Welcome back to the P-Dog Knight channel on this Monday, the 22nd of May, 2023. And I saw a bunch of sports news trending this morning, kind of like it happens every Monday morning, because all the sports news from the weekend seems to trend every Monday morning. But there was one item that I saw that made my eyes perk up, or my ears perk up, something, whatever. I got a lot of sun this weekend too. We had a garage sale this weekend. Well, sort of a garage sale. All this furniture that I have collected from, a bunch of it just from my mother's estate, because we've been storing it ever since she's, passed away a couple of years ago. And then just a few other items that I had picked up somewhere here and there. And we actually made almost $1,000 in the garage sale, but that had to make up for the 4 tires that I just had to put on my truck for $1,500. So anyway, welcome to the show. We've got a lot to get through, but I'm starting on time for a change, which is fan-freaking-tastic, right? It is so rare that I'm able to start on time these days, and I actually got home at an early hour and was able to do it. So I'm happy to be here. Hopefully you're happy to be here. We're all happy to be here. Is everything working over on Rumble? I haven't checked yet. Let's just make sure that's up. Whoa, that does not seem to be working, and that mute should be muted. Well, is that working over there? I hope so. Did it never start over there? Are you kidding me? Well, that's not good, and I don't think I can fix it now. Well, if you're on Rumble, I apologize. What the hell's going on over there? Let's see what's happening here. I know I changed the stream key. I know I did. Let's see. Let me see if I can even fix that. I don't even know if I can. Let's find out. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. That's the right one. Yes, it is. Oh, it says it's going. Okay, never mind. I guess it's going. Anyway, let's say hi to everybody. Is this not? Maybe it's not. No intro, just looping. Oh, well, what the hell? It's on the right stream setting, so I don't know what to do about that. Well, guys, sorry if you're watching on Rumble. If you're watching Rumble, you can't hear me ask you this right now. So, let's see. We'll try just this. This might. Oh, I see what happened. There's an extra slash in there. Let's see if that'll work. I don't know. We'll find out eventually. Anyway, hope you're having a good day. I'm not. It seems to be going just fine. Nope. Okay, well, that's going to be looping. All right, sorry. Let me just throw the YouTube link here just for shits and grins. How's that sound? Here we go. Copy. Paste. It'll show up. The replay will be on Rumble. There you go. All right. Let's say good morning. Since you can't hear me on Rumble anyway, let's just say hi to people in YouTube. But I'll except Avocados Diabli. You do still get the bell for being on Rumble, so there you go. Thank you for being there. Next Gen Troll, if you make it over here, Mike Savage. And that's it. Sorry. Okay. On YouTube, first in the chat is Tyler F., who gets the bell. Also, good morning, Lord Stanhope, Tyrannus Alexandrius, the Invictus Lich. Sarah, good morning. Avocados Diabli, what's happening? Fake news expert. Rachel Madhouse Dildo. GDSOB, what's happening? Simon Wolfwood, good morning. Black Hebrew Israelite.
That's right.
Also, good morning, Mike Savage. Blarg. Let's see. Attack Alpaca's in the house. Good morning also to Septus Wolf. Judafine, welcome back. Nice to see you. Good to see you getting over here once in a while. Let's see. Renee Mayette, hi there. Also, good morning to Those Ain't Real Dude. What's up? Let's see. My favorite Canadian Jaeger pony's in the house. And I just scrolled too fast for some reason. Where'd it go? There's Judafine. Jaeger pony. I used to be able to use Jaeger pony's Abby as a marker, but it's a different color now. It messes me up. Good morning, Rotten Corpse. Hello. Lord Stanhope's here. And that's pretty much everybody. So anyway, share the stream, do all that stuff, hit the like button. PDogNight.live is the sponsor link. I put this new thing down here, this thing, because I'm going to try to have some goals for the different weeks, but we're doing a driving trip, and just saw the price of gas jump another 20 cents. So now anything that goes through Streamlabs goes towards that total there, and we'll see how we do. So anyway, thank you for being here. Let's do the show. Now, like I said earlier, there are a bunch. Oh shoot! If you're on Rumble, you are. Well, if you're on Locals, you went to the Rumble link and nothing's there. But anyway, it says in the chat, so people will figure it out. All right. So I notice every Monday morning. Why is this so loud? Why is this so quiet? Here, let's try that. There, is that better? Can y'all hear me better now? Bam, bam. There you go. I had the gain down because I was recording stuff, and I can't turn the gain up this high when I'm recording. So every Monday morning when I come in here and look at Twitter, fair warning, gas jumped at least 33 cents here in Michigan. Yeah, no, I know. It did here too. And because I just filled my tank this morning, and I was like, oh, that's a little more than last time I paid for it. But no worries. I mean, it's a trip well planned. So like I said, every Monday morning, sports stuff is trending. So for example, LeBron James is trending this morning, not because of anything he did, other than the Lakers are in the playoffs, except Denver. Denver's in the process of sweeping them. So this morning, for example, what the hell happened there? Oh, good Lord. Hang on a second. There we go. Fixed it. Okay. So he's trending because apparently the Lakers lost. And this is what he said in the press conference last night. Someone said, damn it, LeBron is starting to make me believe again. Let's see what this little clip is. I have no idea, but let's see what he said.
The only way you can win this is to make history. You've made history so many times before. You know the game. Does that thought even cross your mind that's the only way you can do it, and you'd like to make history again? Obviously,
what should this? Of course,
that's the only mindset for me, for sure.
The only way you can win this is to make
ain't
history.
happening. They're down 3-0. So, and this guy says Lakers in 7. LeBron about to make history again. Good luck. That kid looks so convinced, doesn't he? He's hoping, he's trying, he's wishing LeBron could do it. So they're about to get swept. And then in the meantime, also, Duncan Robinson. Now, that should be a household name. Oh, you didn't even see that, did you? That's because I didn't change the damn thing over. So there's the kid. There's Lakers at 7. LeBron's about to make history once again. I promise. But over in Miami, okay, I also think in the news, Duncan Robinson should be a household name, right? Shouldn't that be a household name as far as NBA stars? Duncan Robinson just passed LeBron as Miami's all-time leader in playoff threes. And here's how he reacted to that. It's not going to be sports all day, by the way. I promise, for those the peeps who don't like sports ball things. But this is funny.
Threes. Also tonight, you became the all-time leader in playoff threes, passing LeBron James. What does that mean to you, man?
Don't
from
mean shit.
An undrafted guy to the most threes.
This guy was undrafted,
history
by the
for
way.
the Miami freaking Heat.
Man, it's humbling in a lot of different ways. Never would have imagined this for my journey, but just trying to take it in stride and not take it for granted, and just trying to keep enjoying the moment and maximizing every opportunity.
Threes.
Also
all right,
tonight, Duncan Robinson. Some brilliant wisdom from Duncan Robinson. That's happening in sports. Now, another thing that was trending in sports this morning, I think it was the PGA, which usually doesn't trend in the mornings, but wait, we're here. Someone named Brooks. So Brooks Koepka, apparently, I'm not sure who won this tournament because everyone's talking about this Michael Block guy. Now, this Michael Block was playing in the PGA Championship, right? And I think he's a club pro. He's not even, he's one of these club pros that just every once in a while makes the cut, right? And apparently he was leading the PGA Championship, but apparently Brooks Koepka came back and won it. And so let's see, what's this? This is okay. Something about I hear you're buying drinks or something like that. But anyway, now the significant thing about this, and I'll put it on the screen now because I'm stupid. Apparently, Brooks Koepka is one of these players that went and left the PGA Tour to play in the LIV Tour or whatever, and he got like $100 million guarantee to play in the LIV. But he came over and wins the PGA Championship after playing in that tour. But he kept getting asked about Michael Block, and so here's Brooks getting asked about Michael Block in the post-round presser. Here it is.
Think of Happy Gilmore. I didn't get a chance to see him play. I was too busy winning.
You gotta admit, that's a hell of a drive, 450 yards, huh?
Yeah, how do you finish again? Dead last?
Okay, so anyway. He came back and won this. So that's something in sports trending. But the absolute biggest sports story, maybe of the year, maybe of the decade, as young as this decade is, and even the century as young as this century is on on Friday night. She's back. Brittney Griner is back in the WNBA after her grand ordeal of being stuck in Russia for some nefarious, unfounded charges of her carrying some weed oil or some hashish oil or whatever that she wasn't supposed to have. It's illegal in Russia, and she got traded for some other major prisoners, Russian spies, because she's a very important entity in this world. Well, she's back in the WNBA. In fact, not only is she back in the WNBA, but as predicted, she stood for the national anthem. Yes, on Friday, WNBA star Brittney Griner stood for the national anthem. After spending 10 months in a Russian prison, she finally understands how great this country actually is. Too bad she didn't realize that when she took a knee before every game and insulted every service member. Now, that's Travis and Flitt's opinion, and I'm just reading it off the screen here. But there's another thing of note, though. Her coach is a little upset about her return to play. Because, well, oh, by the way, good morning, Resolute Germ, Rick Hashminger, Chicago Mike. Good to see you all here. Oh, and then Brittney Griner speaks out about her national anthem stance during her first night back in the NBA on the court since being jailed in Russia. Just be able to hear my national anthem again and see my flag, I definitely want to stand. Well, I'm going to give her credit for that. She learned the error of her ways, thanks to Russia. Good morning, Aaron Meredith. And but there's a slight. How would I say this? I don't. There's a slight black mark on her return, because the coach of the Phoenix Mercury is a little bit upset. She is a little bit upset because, well, wait a minute. Well, here's the scene. Let's wait a minute. Before I get to that, before I tell you why the coach is upset, this is CNN. Because, by the way, one of the themes today is media reviving images of people they like. Okay, media reviving images of people they like. So let's read this. This is CNN story about Brittney Griner returning, because this, there's mixed emotions about Brittney Griner, but she actually got choked up a little bit after playing for the Phoenix Mercury in the home WNBA opener. After spending more than 300 days in a Russian custody last year, Brittney Griner made an emotional return to her WNBA home court in Phoenix Mercury's 75-69 defeat of the Chicago Sky. Now, if you have no idea what Phoenix Mercury means or Chicago Sky, those are teams in the WNBA. I just happen to know that because, I don't know, I was a basketball coach and I kind of had to know these things. I coach girls basketball, so in the summer. So I had to kind of keep up on this shit. Anyway, the crowd went crazy in applause as she ran onto the court while giving her teammates high five. There might have been a little dust in my eye. Okay, a little dusty, Griner told reporters. Otherwise, she had a tear. And it was an emotional being back in the back. Wait, it was emotional in the back. Oh, seeing some of the clips and then coming out, it was really good. Part of the process of healing is kind of just letting it out. So yeah, I got choked up a little bit trying to hide it, but I see you caught it. Despite the loss, Griner put on a show for her home crowd and dominated in the defeat. The 6'9" center scored 29 points on 9 of 13 shooting to go with 10 rebounds as she notched an impressive double-double. Now, I'll stop there. If you really want to read the rest of that. Now let's tell you why her coach was a little upset, though. What crowd? Well, funny you should ask, Chicago Mike. Funny you should ask. Apparently, her coach was a little upset. Mercury coach mad at WNBA crowd for Griner's first game back. How was it not a sellout? Good morning, why are you so angry? Yes, parking here. Stop it. Stop it. Well, Phoenix Mercury coach Vanessa Nygaard was baffled that Brittney Griner's first game of the season wasn't sold out. The Mercury traveled to Los Angeles for the WNBA opener, and it was Griner's first game since she was released from Russian custody following a Soviet-style show trial on drug charges. Well, a Soviet show trial. Well, yeah, anyway. It was such an important night for the WNBA that Vice President Kamala Harris even made an appearance, and 10,396 fans bought tickets to attend the game at Crypto.com Arena. However, it wasn't a complete sellout, and it seemingly fried Griner's coach. Now, but there is this sellout on the screen here with her, 49. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, it was great, but honestly, come on now, LA. We didn't sell out the arena for BG. I expected more, to be honest. Here she is. Listen to her. Listen to her complain.
I mean, it was great, but honestly, come on, LA. We didn't sell out the arena for BG.
No,
I expected more.
Why?
To be honest, right?
Why?
It was great. It was
Why
loud,
did you expect that?
How was it not a sellout?
Because she's not.
How was it not a sellout?
A marquee sports figure. People who don't have any idea women's basketball has no idea who she is. You don't have to even the NBA, but you sure as hell know who LeBron James is. You know who Michael Jordan is. You know who Magic Johnson is. You know who Larry Bird is. But nobody knows who Brittney Griner is unless you watch the WNBA, right? So anyway, for the record, Sparks, Los Angeles Sparks only averaged roughly 5,600 fans at home games last season, according to Across the Timeline. So a lot of people did show up for Brittney Griner, who sometimes resembles anyway, I'm not going there. Attendance damn near doubled for the opener, but it just wasn't good enough for Nygaard. All of the things to do in Los Angeles on a Friday night. Attending a WNBA game to see Brittney Griner is supposed to be the top of the list? Are you crazy? Why would you think that? Why? Let's see. UCLA and USC struggle to draw fans when they're not having great seasons, and both are prestigious college football programs, especially the former. It has absolutely nothing to do with sexism. I'm reminded of the legendary Bill Burr rant about how men support all their teams and it's up to women and women alone to make the WNBA a success. If you want to hear that clip, it is clearly it's in the article, which will be in the links at the end of the show. I mean, they should be ecstatic that there were over 10,000 fans for a WNBA game. They don't average much in these games. Even when the Lynx were here in Minneapolis, there were 5 times WNBA champs. I don't know that they averaged more than like 5,000 or 6,000 a game until the playoffs. And then they'd fill out the arena, kind of. But anyway, and guess what? That's 10,396 fans bought tickets to the game, okay? Bought tickets doesn't mean that actual fans bought the tickets. Because, for example, when I go to the Lynx games, I don't think I've ever paid for Lynx. I've always gotten them as part of some group that they were giving away. And I went to a couple of them, and they're good for what they are for the best in women's basketball. And I don't mean to be disparaging of women's basketball, but the WNBA is like watching a top, 15U AAU team. I mean, it as far as that quality, and probably at the same skill level. Okay, they're great players. They know how to pass. They can shoot the ball, but so can 15-year-old boys. It's not the NBA. There's nothing compelling about it. In fact, sometimes it's embarrassing. I actually turned on a WNBA game for a brief period this weekend on Friday because it was on, and I don't know why I had it on. It was on the channel that I had on the TV. And in the third quarter of a professional women's basketball game, it was towards the end of the third quarter, and I just turned it on, and I looked at the score, and it was like the 52-39 at the end of the third quarter. And I was like, how the hell could you have a professional basketball game where in the third quarter the score is like 52-39 at the end of the third quarter? And then I watched for a little bit, and I was like, oh my gosh, this tells me why. So Brittney Griner, and some of you keep saying that she's a man. She's not. But I remember when she was having a little spat, like a verbal spat with DeMarcus Cousins, and she called him little man, and people were saying, oh, she could beat DeMarcus Cousins. I guarantee you, there is not a woman in the WNBA who could beat a single player in the NBA in one-on-one. Guaranteed. Hello, CNN Sucks, the most redundant name on the internet. Welcome back. So anyway, so at least she stood for the national anthem, right? At least she stood for the national anthem. There's a couple more articles. But then there's this other article from The Atlantic. Like I said, what's the theme today? The theme is media trying to rehabilitate the images of certain people. Oh, wait, first, thank you, Rachel Maddows Dildo. First sponsor today, Rachel Maddows Dildo. You are, oh no, that's not a Streamlabs. That's a super chat. That's okay. Thank you for dropping a deuce in the tip jar. Greatly appreciated. Who says, let's see. In the interview, her voice is deeper than Darth Vader's. Oh, you mean the coach? Let's see. Let's hear that again.
I mean, it was great, but like honestly, come on, LA. Like we didn't sell the arena for.
Oh, what the hell? What the
Like
hell?
I expected more. You know, to be honest.
Are you talking
right?
about? Are you talking about Brittney Griner's interview? Oh, her interview. Yeah, she has a really deep voice. But that's, you know what? Look, let's remember, Brittney Griner's 6'9" tall. Very tall women tend to have deeper voices, just because there's more. I don't know. They have deeper voices because they're bigger people. Bigger people, the bigger the person, the deeper the voice. Okay, she's not. Her voice isn't this deep because she's still kind of female. But anyway, all right. So, but I said redeeming. Whatever. Here is so in the Atlantic, which is kind of a very left wing publication. Here's the redeeming article for Brittney Griner. Oh, Brittney. Yeah, I thought you meant Brittney because she has this voice that's almost like this. And when she's talking, she's like, so anyway. Okay, so in the Atlantic, though, I said this is media reviving the reputations of certain people. Here it is. Brittney Griner has a right to change her mind. The WNBA player has a different perspective on the Star-Spangled Banner, but hasn't given up on the cause of justice. Now, of course, this is by everybody's favorite former sports writer, and now, well, whatever. There's a whole lot of things I can call Jemele Hill, but it's by Jemele Hill. So we'll just read a short bit of this as long as I can hold down my breakfast, okay? Here we go. Playing in her first real WNBA game in 579 days, Brittney Griner did something Friday night in Los Angeles that national television audiences hadn't seen her do in a long time. Show up. Jimmy Das Hotep, I hope you make it over to YouTube. In fact, here, let me just make that, here, YouTube, only today. Sorry. There we go. Something she hadn't done in a long time. The Phoenix Mercury Center stood for the national anthem. Well, isn't that special? That is so special. She stopped doing so in 2020, but has resumed the practice after returning from 10 months of imprisonment in Russia. Yeah, little Russian prison will do wonders for your attitude, won't it? One thing that's good about this country is our right to protest, Griner said after the game when asked about the issue. You have a right to be able to speak out, question, to challenge, and do all these things. After what I went through, it just means a little bit more to me now. I was literally in a cage and could not stand the way I wanted to, and a lot of other situations. But just being able to hear my national anthem, see my flag, I definitely wanted to stand. Well, good for her. She learned a lesson. Although she stood for the Star-Spangled Banner during the preseason, her team's regular season opener Friday night against the Los Angeles Sparks attracted far more media attention. Yeah. No opposing player this season is likely to get the reception that Griner did from LA fans. The exuberant crowd wore pro Griner t-shirts, gave her a lengthy standing ovation, and held up signs that further showed their support. A number of sports superstars were there to witness the joyous... Oh, wait a minute. I have to apologize. I should have done this beforehand because I didn't plan on reading this much of it, but now I want to see what this says. So give me a second. There we go. You'll get the archived version of this now. Okay, here it is. A number of sports superstars were there to witness the joyous occasion. Yes, there's Joy in Mudville. Hello, Jimmy Das Hotep. What's up? Including Lakers legend Magic Johnson, the tennis champion Billie Jean King, and Basketball Hall of Famer Dawn Staley, who coaches the University of South Carolina women's basketball team. But what brought the moment first full circle and speaks to the significance of Griner's return, wait a minute, wait for it, was Vice President Kamala Harris, yes, the woman who went horizontal to make her career go vertical, meeting with both the Sparks and the Mercury before the game, praising the players for making sure that Griner's plight was never forgotten. Thank you for all you did in supporting Brittney. Because I know it was rough and that was so difficult for you. Team is family. Yes, that's a quote. Anyway. So anyway, then they just tell the story of that. And oh my gosh, wait, let me come down here though, because they tell about her plight of going to Russia, right, and getting arrested. But down here it says, a lot of athletes during that time, Griner wanted to use the anthem to prove a larger point that the country's national symbol means nothing if human rights of its black citizens are routinely being violated by the people in charge of protecting them. Yeah, yes, all our human rights are violated occasionally, and it sucks, and we should, speak out about it. But this is a tricky dance for an openly gay, black woman who stands 6'9", balancing the love for her country and appreciation for its freedoms, which, with wanting the U.S. to do better, have a better record of equality and social justice, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, of course, it's Jemele Hill, so she's going to go that route, but I'm done with it. By the way, if I look darker here today, it's because I was out in the sun all weekend doing a garage sale. So yes, this is me, how I tan and whatever. So anyway, so anyway, enough about Brittney Griner. That's the first redemption story of the day. She learned about rights firsthand. Yes, she did. That is absolutely true. So let's move on though, because there's more redemption stories. And oh, wait a minute. I almost missed something. So remember when she was in that Russian prison, right? And they're like figured out how many Russian spies they're going to trade for her. But Paul Whelan, you remember him? The guy that was, he's accused of being a spy and he's also being held in prison. And we're like, well, shouldn't they have tried to get him out? Because he's been there longer and for a more bullshit charge, right? Well, there's some news about Paul Whelan right now. And this is also on This Is CNN. Exclusive. Paul Whelan tells CNN he's confident the wheels are turning towards his release. Now, wasn't Brittney released almost a year ago? I mean, no, it wasn't a year ago. It was, whatever it was, right? Well, Paul Whelan finally thinks the wheels are turning towards his release. Paul Whelan, an American who is wrongfully detained in Russia. Now, this is another thing they added here. That he's wrongfully detained, which might be true. But remember when they used to kept saying that about Brittney Griner, that she was wrongfully detained? Did she? I mean, we know that she broke Russian laws, right? She actually did break the law in Russia. Now, we don't know if Paul Whelan did. But anyway, Paul Whelan, who has told CNN Sunday that he feels confident that his case is a priority for the United States government, but wishes it could be resolved faster. Says, I want to remain positive and confident on a daily basis that the wheels are turning. I just wish they would turn a little bit more quickly, said Whelan, who called CNN exclusively from prison camp in remote Mordovia. Wow, they give him some phone privilege, and he called CNN. Holy shit. Wait, CNN hasn't even had contact with him? He said he called CNN. Why would he call CNN? I'd call my damn family. Anyway, Whelan said he does harbor concerns that he could be left behind again, particularly after the Russians wrongfully detained American journalist Evan Gershkovich. That's an extreme worry for me and my family, he said. The U.S. was unable to secure Whelan's release in prisoner swaps that brought home 2 other wrongfully detained Americans last year. Now here, see, 2 other wrongfully detained Americans? They include Brittney Griner in those 2. But was she wrongly detained? Did she break their laws? And look, I don't think that she should have, well, I don't know. She got a little bit of a gift because of who she is and kind of what she is. But anyway, Trevor Reed in April and Brittney Griner in December. Oh, this is just December. However, Whelan said Sunday he has more confidence in the U.S. efforts to get him home than he did when he spoke to CNN in December following Griner's release. I've been told that I won't be left behind. I've been told that although Evan's case is a priority, it's a priority over him? Interesting. Mine is also a priority, and people are cognizant of the fact that this is having an extremely negative impact on me and my family, and I'm told that the government is working tirelessly to get me out of here and to get me home so they can then focus on Evan in his case. Who believes that? Yes or no in the chat. Just type yes or no. Do you think that the government is working tirelessly to get him out of there? Or do you think they'll... Okay, let me change the question. Who do you think will get released first? Paul Whelan, just put Paul, or Evan Gershkovich. So you can put Paul or Evan in the chat. Which one do you think will get released first? I'm curious. So anyway, that's a little update on Paul Whelan, who has languished in the Russian prison, while several other people have been let go. Let's move on. Also, in the media tries to revive your reputation. So, all of you probably saw the pictures of a press conference in the United States Senate where John Fetterman was in his vintage hoodie and shorts while all the other people at the press conference were in suits, right? And it kind of made a big deal that people were making a big deal out of it. Some people even said that maybe he should be expelled from the Senate for the lack of decorum, which I completely disagree with. I say, look, Fetterman, stick to the hoodies and shorts all the time, although they make more suits in the Senate chamber, but stick to your hoodies all the time. That's all people should see you in, and let the people of Pennsylvania decide if they still want you in the Senate next time you come up for re-election. But it's certainly not a reason to that's not the main reason he should be out of the Senate. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, well, the AP decided to do a little revival on him too. And it's a hagiography. Is that how you say it? Hagiography, or is it a soft G? Anyway, back in hoodies and gym shorts, Fetterman tackles Senate life after depression treatment. Before Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman checked himself into the hospital for clinical depression in February, he walked the halls of the Senate stone-faced and dressed in formal suits. These days, he's back to wearing the hoodies and gym shorts he was known for before he became a senator. Male senators are expected to wear a jacket and tie in the Senate floor, but Fetterman has a workaround. He votes from the doorway of the Democratic cloakroom or the side entrance, making sure his yay or nay is recorded before ducking back out. In between his votes this past week, Fetterman's hoodie stayed on for a news conference with 4 Democratic colleagues in suits, and the 6'8" Fetterman towering over colleagues. Yeah, he looked like whatever. People close to Fetterman say his relaxed, comfortable style is... Now, see what they're doing here? See what they're doing here? They're making it an asset that he does this. His relaxed, comfortable style, or lack thereof, is a sign that the senator is making a robust recovery after 6 weeks of inpatient treatment at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. Wait, did he wait for that treatment till after he got in the Senate so he could get it for free? I don't know. Where his clinical depression was treated with medication, and he was fitted for hearing aids for hearing loss that made it harder for him to communicate. His hospitalization came less than a year after he had a stroke during the Senate campaign that he said nearly killed him, and from which he continues to recover. Now, this next line. He's setting a new dress code, jokes Vermont Senator Peter Welch, who is the only other newly elected Democrat in the Senate and spent a lot of time with Fetterman during their orientation at the beginning of the year. He was struggling, and now he's a joyful person to be around. Well, look, let me just say something. I certainly hope Fetterman is fully recovered from his depression. That's not anything really to joke about. But how he got into the Senate is really weird. And I got to tell you, if you're Dr. Oz, right, and you lost to this guy, oh boy, you're about as bad as the guy who lost to, who's the lying guy from New York, George Santos. You're almost as bad as the guy who lost to George Santos. I'm saying there's no way you should have. So anyway, And then they go into as senators do occasionally vote in casual clothing. Republican Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, for example, is known for sometimes arriving in gym clothes. That's because he goes to the gym every day. And he's usually in the hallways. I don't think he arrives in the Senate chambers in gym clothes. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done with this. They're reviving John Fetterman. And I'm glad that somebody has revived him. Because, well, I'm not going to go there. All right, here's another one. Now, this is a New York Times opinion piece. And you tell me why you think they came up with this. Okay? Because you know what? I know that someone, well, let me just say this. I know that they're not necessarily talking about a specific person in this article that has been blamed continually for what we're about to read. Okay? Here we go. In the New York Times editorials, not every pandemic needs someone to blame. Now that is fascinating. It's fascinating that this editorial came out before I even read it, right? Before I even read it. Because who was being blamed for the COVID deaths, pandemic deaths, to start out with? Who was being blamed as they started to rack up? Really? That would be Donald John Trump, right? So why all of a sudden do we have this article? Not every pandemic needs someone to blame. Uh-oh. Do somebody at the New York Times know something that might be about to come out? Or things that have been coming out pretty drip ever since the whole damn thing started, right? Here we go. 3 years ago, as I stood at the bedside of my first patient with the corona. Oh, this is Dr. Lamas. Dr. Daniela Lamas, contributing opinion writer, is a pulmonary and critical care physician at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. 3 years ago, as I stood at the bedside of my first patient with the coronavirus, I struggled to understand why someone relatively young and healthy had become sick. The unknown of the virus was frightening enough. To think that severe illness could strike at random is untenable. Even in my personal protective equipment, I held my breath, suddenly aware of my own vulnerability. Easy for me to say. The air itself felt dangerous. A couple of months ago, my father called me to let me know that he had tested positive for the virus. I barely reacted until I realized that a positive test meant that he would not travel to visit my infant as planned. He had been vaccinated and boosted. So that means he's safe, right? Not necessarily, but anyway. He had been vaccinated and boosted, so I was not as worried about his health. But I was frustrated. Quickly, I felt my disappointment turn to judgment. He could have been more careful. How? What do you mean? Maybe he could have just not ever left his home? Wore a mask indoors for forever in perpetuity? As I reflected on my reaction and the shift from coronavirus as a mortal threat to inconvenience, I found myself thinking not just about the early days of the pandemic in the intensive care unit, but also about how this virus had become intertwined with morality. Oh, dear. Now, interesting. When she said early days of the pandemic in the intensive care unit, when they were ventilating all these people, which probably was exacerbated the death tolls. Anyway, from the earliest reports, the public conversation was so often assigned blame for the spread of the coronavirus. Oh, normally on who? Donald John Trump. Based on what? Based on ethnicity or underlying health conditions or political party. Oh, I remember because,
China is asshole.
Anyway, it is tempting to believe that healthcare workers are immune to such reactions. After all, we care for all patients, regardless of their culpability in their own illnesses. Is she doing what I think she's doing here? Is she claiming something about the vax? Culpability for their own illnesses. What? Whoa. But looking forward to the inevitability of another pandemic, we must acknowledge that when faced with fear and uncertainty, those of us working at the bedsides are not entirely different. Disease has long been weaponized against those who are perceived as other. Oh, it was weaponized against a certain president too, wasn't it? From the bubonic plague of the 14th century to tuberculosis and HIV, the examples echo throughout the history of medicine. When people are frightened, they seek someone to blame to create a narrative, even if that narrative is false. Oh no, is she gonna say this is not from China? It's not. No, and it's not Asian Americans. It's not Asian Americans' fault. It's China. You know, China.
China is asshole.
In which the disease is punishment rather than a random unlucky event. Of course, healthcare workers frequently care for patients who are suffering either directly or indirectly as a result of actions they have taken. Oh my gosh, they didn't wear 3 masks. We transplant organs for those with liver failure, after cirrhosis, after years of alcohol abuse, with heart failure after a decade of poor diet and little exercise. So much of what we do in the hospital is about second chances, about care without judgment, unless you're an unvaccinated child who needs a heart transplant. We all know the story from Colorado, right? And yet the idea of culpability, whether our own patients are blameless in their diseases, oh my God, I don't even like this thought that a doctor would think, well, it's your own fault you got this. It's your own fault. That's kind of what she was saying, isn't it? It's still present. When we see patients with lung cancer, for instance, we mention whether they had a history of cigarette smoking. The young mother with lung mass who has never smoked represents a tragedy. An older man who develops cancer after 50 years of smoking elicits a different response. That's not to say that the medicine we offer is different, not in any way that's measurable, unless you're a child who needs an organ transplant and you haven't been vaccinated. Come on now. That's not to say that medicine we offer is different, not in any way that's measurable, but the distinction matters. It affects the way we frame the story, the way we understand the world. Disease has no explanation of behavior. It's terrifying. We have a reminder that no matter what we do, no matter how careful we are, any of us could fall ill and die. It is a reminder that none of us are safe, which is one reason the coronavirus is so frightening to those in healthcare. No one is safe, but there are certainly odds. We know the odds, depending on age and comorbidities and weight. We know the odds on certain people because there was a very rare, healthy or young person who died from it. Extremely rare. Extremely rare. The disease did not just break through the boundaries between doctor and patient, it decimated them. We're all vulnerable. And at first I thought that vulnerability might increase empathy, but then as time went on, that empathy waned, and we too began to find an us and them. So they blamed the patients for it. It happened first with masks. Patients who did not wear masks were in some ways responsible for their own illness until we figured out that the mask didn't do anything, right? I mean, okay? I can't say that on YouTube probably. Anyway, we became even more frustrated and more comfortable with openly discussing that frustration when it came to patients who were not vaccinated. There were healthcare workers who railed against the idea of offering advanced and scarce resources like a lung bypass or a transplantation to unvaccinated patients with life-threatening diseases. Oh, like that child in Colorado. Even when there was no question of medical resources, the stigma of the unvaccinated was clearly present in the way we discussed the case. Yeah, until we figured out that more vaccinated people were dying than unvaccinated. Or that's the new stat now. That's the way it is now. In the case of the patient with lung cancer, this knowledge would not affect treatment, but it did change the way we frame the story, and the people in front of us had made a choice, and they were sick and even dying as a result. They were not blameless, so perhaps they were deserving of less of our sympathy. Now, I'm sure she's going to turn around. Well, she did turn around. No, what is that really how? Okay. Oh, there's one more paragraph. This pandemic is waning, but there will be another one. I want to say that we will learn and we will be different, both at the bedside and out in the world. I want to say that we will give grace, that we know how assigning blame only tears us further apart. But then I look at history. I think about our perception of the unvaccinated. She's railing against the unvaccinated. I think of the stigma that so many diseases bring with them, how little we want to acknowledge that the role of luck and random chance. I have to wonder, when the next pandemic comes, who will we blame? Well, I'll tell you who you'll blame. I already know. I can tell you right now who you will blame if the next pandemic comes. Okay? If there is a Republican in the White House, you will blame the Republican in the White House. If there's a Democrat in the White House, you will blame a Republican from some other walk of life, because that's basically what you're saying here. And the unvaccinated, really. Fascinating. All right, next. All right, let's speed it up a little bit here, because mostly I just have kind of a news lightning round of lots of things that are happening in the world that we talked about over the weekend. Okay, let's go back to sports. Well, in California, California, in California, a trans high school track runner robs a female athlete of a state championship bid. This is another case. Now, I'll go through this article. There's something I do want to say about this, though, because, well, I'll tell you the accusation and my answer to it. Anyway, another day, another biological male taking opportunities from deserving females. Athena Ryan took second place Saturday in the high school women's 1,600-meter race at North Coast Meet of Champions in California. The top 3 athletes advanced to the CIF State Track and Field Championship next week. So the 4th place finisher, Adeline Johnson, missed her chance to compete in state by just 1 spot. A spot taken by a boy. Ryan, a junior at Sonoma Academy, competed on the men's team in 2021, but he's been running in the women's events for the past 2 seasons. In Saturday meet, he clocked a season record 4:55.91 in the 1,600-meter finals. Wait, a season record? Was it his, or he would have finished last in the male category? The slowest male time was 4:46.54. The slowest male time in the finals was 4:35.12. Okay. Now, a group of advocates held a banner at the event that simply read, "Protect Female Sports." Now, let's talk about that. So anyway, this young male human is running on the girls' track team, took 3rd place, and displaced a girl. Now, before I go to the activists that were there, here was the point I wanted to make. It doesn't matter to me if that kid would have come in 1st place, 2nd place, 8th place, 9th place, right? The athlete still, no matter what place the athlete came, placed in that meet, in that event, still to play somebody. Someone didn't get to the finals because that athlete was there. Somebody didn't get, through a, 3rd or 4th heat or whatever because that athlete is there. And there's, again, this is, so it doesn't matter, because you get accused of saying, oh yeah, you're only mad because they're winning. Well, no, I'm mad because they're taking the place of a girl who had an opportunity to be in that place, whether they win or not, whether they win or whether they come in last place, which if he would have stayed with his own track, the boys' track team, he would have been in last place. Now, this is weird. Okay, I didn't even, so maybe I'll go back. I wanted to go back. Oh no. Now this is interesting. I'll play this just because it's only a couple minutes long. In this article, they have Riley Gaines talking about women being displaced by male athletes. So here's a little interview with Riley Gaines. Here it goes.
Ad by Adidas where the first thing you see is a man with chest hair in a woman's bathing suit advertising women's swimwear?
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. You would think they would see the public response to the Nike sponsorship with Dylan Mulvaney, where Dylan Mulvaney was sporting this sports bra, which is of course intended for only women. It's a sports bra. They saw the public's response to this, which was not a welcoming, good response. Women across the globe hated this, and the trend of boycott Nike started. Adidas saw this, yet still thought it was a good idea to implement this themselves. This advertising, I wish you could show it on the screen. Oh my gosh, thank you. Notice how it's strategic, the poses to the side where you can do nothing but see the bulge. It's strategic. This is what they want.
Lord.
They're pushing this. They want you to know they think that men make the best women. It's sickening. It's disheartening. It's disingenuous. This is not a woman's swimsuit. And to even remotely put this out there,
what women fought for?
Belittling. It's offensive. It's demeaning to what it is to be a woman. Because I promise you, in a swimsuit, no woman. If you have XX chromosomes, you do not look like that in a swimsuit.
Okay, so
the LA Dodgers facing some criticism.
It's just, is it satire? Is it? I don't think so. I don't think it's satire. Anyway, so some women, women protesting at this track meet where the boy came in second place. And this is a Twitter handle called Women Are Real. A boy took second in the girls' 1,600-meter California State qualifier meet. And Saturday, the top three finishers advanced to state. He smiled while fourth-place senior Adeline Johnson lost her chance to advance to state by 1 spot. I'm sure she's just thrilled. 7 women with a banner that read "Protect Female Sports" were greeted with mostly quiet support, high fives, and thank yous from parents, silenced under the threat to their daughter's ability to compete. One woman found our "Protect Female Sports" banner disgusting and offensive. Note the secretive thank yous and high fives by a female athlete at the end. So this is the woman who was not happy with these people. Let's see this. We got volume on.
That is disgusting. I find that fucking offensive. It shouldn't even fucking matter. It's none of your business what someone else.
Wait. What if one of their daughters competing? Is it their business? What does it? Do you have to be? Do you have to be competing to make it your business? Do you think if you have a daughter competing in sports, okay, for example, my daughter was in high school, she competed in volleyball, and let's say my son who ended up being a college athlete, let's say my son decided to transition in 9th grade, and my daughter was 2 years older and decided to play volleyball. Well, my son was 6'3" and a very good athlete, and my son could have taken my daughter's spot on the volleyball team. Because of that. Because of his athleticism and abilities, right? That it doesn't have to be anyone's business. What else did she say here?
That's offensive.
That's offensive.
You have fucking issues.
No, you have issues. So she's not happy. Oh, see, some people are thanking them. All right, so anyway, video of security removing us for having a banner that read "Protect Female Sports." You can hear the video of how spectators were unaware a boy had just stolen a spot from a girl at the state championship. So here's this video. I'm going to play it because it's interesting. Here we go.
They went into the boat?
So they're asking them to leave. Did they pay for tickets? They didn't get in there for free.
Because they don't care about women and girls. They don't care about women.
So apparently in California, all you have to do is say that you're a girl to compete in girls' sports because there are no requirements for youth athletes other than...
Protect female sports. There you go. Yeah.
They're kicking us out because we care about women and girls.
No, that's not true. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm an activist myself. You can't say that. Yeah, thank you.
Nope.
Thank you.
Do they not allow
I got love
protests?
for everybody. I got love for everybody. Is it no signs allowed? Just outside.
Just our sign.
No signs inside?
Just our sign.
No signs inside?
Our sign's not allowed. Other signs are allowed.
Yeah, there are other signs
There's
in
a
there.
girl not going to state because of a boy. Right now,
Because
just
of
happened.
what?
Just happened.
Female in there that's winning?
Just went to state.
Really?
Just now.
In high school?
10 minutes ago.
Shut up.
Took a girl spot. 1,600 girls.
All right, so they weren't aware of that. So anyway, it's a fascinating fight. I don't know where it's... I got to be honest with you. In many states, that battle's already lost. It's already lost. And I don't expect... Look, I don't even want Congress to get into this, but eventually this weird trend, this is going to have to end, and mainly because the main sanctioning bodies around the world are saying, no more of this nonsense. And certainly someone actually will do. Here's the problem. One of the problems with trying to research this is the people who get money for research for this are activists. That's one problem. So it's going to be biased in favor of this. Number two, the sample size for any kind of research of this is going to be pitifully small. Okay. So it's just and they're not going to use logic. Okay, they're not going to use the logic of, they'll make a comparison. Well, Akeem Olajuwon is 7 feet tall. He certainly had an advantage over other players in the NBA. Other males who developed male, the probability of having a male that tall is much higher in males than it would be for females. So the pool of which average height of males is around 5'10" or whatever, and versus the pool of average females is around 5'5" or 5'6". Obviously, you're going to have a giant pool of larger people who started out as male. So they're going to have that one height advantage already. And muscle development and everything else that you go through in puberty does not atrophy enough to, lose that advantage. So anyway. All right, moving on. Let's see. All right, we're out of the redemption tour. Now let's just do the lightning round a little more lightningly. Okay? In the New York Post, apparently the FBI has been caught with massive, outrageous FISA abuses. Remember the FISA court that they went after Carter Page? Well, apparently that is just the very, very tiny tip of the iceberg. Like the casino gambling scene in Casablanca, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court is shocked that the Federal Bureau of Investigation continues to ravage the privacy of a vast number of Americans. For each American, the FISA court permitted the FBI to target. The Bureau illicitly surveilled almost 1,000 additional Americans. Now, I'm going to recap what I just said there. For every one American the FISA court permitted the FBI to target, the Bureau surveilled 1,000. So whatever number they said, take it times 1,000, and that's how many people they actually surveilled. The court's just revealed ruling signals the FBI presumed any American suspected of supporting the January 6, 2021 protest forfeited their constitutional rights. Any American suspected of supporting the January 6, 2021 protest. Suspected of supporting. Not were there, not even are supporting, suspected of supporting. FISA was enacted in 1978 to curb the rampant illegal political spying exposed during the Nixon administration. After 9/11 attacks, the Bush administration decided the president was entitled to order the National Security National Security Agency to vacuum up American and foreigners' emails data without a warrant. Federal judges disagreed, and the result was the 2008 FISA reform that authorized the feds to continue commandeering vast amounts of data. But under Section 702 of that law, the FBI was permitted to conduct warrantless searches of that stash for Americans' data only to seek foreign intelligence information or evidence of a crime. The heavily redacted 2022 opinion finally released Friday revealed that the FBI conducted 278,000 improper searches of Americans in 2020 and early 2021. 278,000 improper searches in 2 years. Now, what's funny about that? 2020 and 2021. Guess what? January 6th was in 2021. Incredibly, the Bureau conducted roughly 3.4 million warrantless searches of Americans in 2021 via Section 702. The day before, Thursday, an FBI whistleblower revealed in congressional testimony that the FBI headquarters pressured agents to treat anyone who attended the January 6th protest as a criminal suspect. That means even if they were just there if they only showed up at Donald Trump's speech, they were told to be treated as a criminal suspect. The FISA court's opinion revealed the FBI wrongfully cast a far broader net. Roughly 2,000 pro-Trump protesters, including an unknown number of undercover agents as informants, entered the Capitol that day, but an FBI analyst exploited FISA to unjustifiably conduct searches on 23,132 American citizens to find evidence of possible foreign influence, although the analyst conducting the queries had no indication of foreign influence, according to the FISA chief judge, Rudolph Contreras. Now, again, FISA is foreign. As a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, something like that. So they conducted searches on 23,000 plus Americans under the FISA warrant, foreign, and yet none of these inquiries had any indication of foreign influence. That's how corrupt the FBI was regarding these types of searches. So a lot more details in the article, but it's nuts. All right, let's move on because I'm trying to. I'm doing pretty good here time wise. And speaking of which, because of that, we have Jim Jordan saying we have to exercise our authority. Jim Jordan threatens to cut the FBI funding after whistleblower testimony. Here's what I'm going to say about that. Whatever, Jim. You know it's not happening. This is, I like Jim Jordan and how he questions people, but he's blowing smoke here. They're not going to threaten the FBI's funding. Nobody's going to do shit. It's going to keep going on and on and on in perpetuity. Republican Ohio Representative Jim Jordan threatened Sunday to cut the FBI's funding in the wake of FBI whistleblower testimony and Special Counsel John Durham's report. Jordan appeared on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures to speak with host Maria Bartiromo, the most annoying voice in television, about his plans for the FBI as chair of the House Judiciary Committee and Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. Let's see. How long is this clip? Let's see.
About the wrongdoing going on in the Justice Department.
Well, what are you going to do about it? We just spoke with Kevin McCarthy about his call with Christopher Wray. It is what it is. Wray is still running the FBI. You've said you want to use the appropriations process to fix this. How will that fix things?
It won't. It won't. It won't.
Well, I mean, in the end, money always gets people's attention. And so what
Gets
we're
their
going to have to
attention,
do
but
is say,
that's
hey,
all.
FBI, you can't use federal tax dollars. You can't use the American tax dollars for this kind of activity. We got to limit how they spend the money, maybe even limit the money. Here's a great example. They want millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in their construction budget for a new facility. No way. No way should we approve that. That should be a given. No way we're going to give you money for that. So we have to use the appropriation process. That's the power that the founders wanted the legislative branch, and in particular the House, where constitutionally every spending bill, every tax bill has to originate in the House. They wanted that body, which stands for election every 2 years, to be the body closest to the people, deciding how we spend the money.
In theory,
So
this
we
sounds
have to
great,
exercise our
but
authority, the power of the purse, to limit what the federal government, what the FBI and the Justice
You have to
Department
cooperate
are
with the
doing to
Senate,
American
Jim.
people.
It ain't going to happen just like nothing happens
is underway
ever.
now. When will we see a bill that actually cuts back on funding for the FBI?
Never.
Speaker McCarthy and Republicans are committed to doing all 12 appropriation bills that...
Look, they're not going to cut back on funding for the FBI. I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. And in fact, here's the thing. Even though they say they're doing cutting back funding, what they're really going to do is they're going to cut the rate of increase. Because I shouldn't say no, but for the most part, everything that happens in our budget always goes up. And even if you just try to cut the rate of increase, Democrats howl like a wolf staring at the moon. So anyway, what else do you say here?
Fund the government over the next several months. I think the first one will be coming out in a couple of weeks. We've been meeting with the appropriation staff, our staff on Judiciary Committee, to work on how we can limit money, American tax dollars, being used in these ways, and deal with the overall budget that the FBI and the DOJ is receiving. So that'll be happening.
All right. So anyway, that's what Jim Jordan had to say. Let's see. Moving on. And then FBI gets an F in trust due to recent scandals. So that's the little FBI section. And if you want to read that editorial, that's great too. That's talking about the Durham report. And I tell you what, there's so much in that Durham report that you go, how is it that no one's really going to trial? Yes, Klein Smith went to trial barely and pled guilty and got a tap of the wrist. How is it that, first of all, I don't know how Hillary Clinton has escaped real scrutiny from the FBI. They ended cases, they ended investigations in her in 2016, and it doesn't seem that any of them have picked it back up. And I don't understand how that can be. I just don't. All right, I'm going to move on. Next, there is a travel advisory for, well, let's just say people like me, right? People like me have been given a travel advisory from none other than the NAACP. The NAACP is concerned for my health and safety. Yes, the NAACP has issued a travel advisory for Florida, saying the state is openly hostile to African Americans. Now, that's weird. That is weird. That the state is, the whole entire state is hostile to African Americans. So they have a travel advisory for Florida? Really? Really? Because I know a lot of those HBCUs like to party down in Florida on spring break. I'm just curious. But here it is. Another advocacy group. And this, by the way, this is from, of course, this is CNN, which is a stenographer for certain political entities and groups. So anyway, another advocacy group is warning people of color. What do you mean another advocacy group? Is there more than one that's done this? People of color about traveling to Florida, but for different reasons. The NAACP issued a travel advisory for the state in direct response to Governor Ron DeSantis' aggressive attempts to erase Black history and restrict diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Florida schools. The group said in a written statement, what do you mean he's trying to erase Black history? No, he's not. No, he's not. In fact, it's a requirement in Florida schools. Just the critical race theory stuff is not, but not the Black history part. They haven't taken. That's a requirement in Florida schools. And the announcements came days after LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, issued a travel advisory for Florida after DeSantis signed a new immigration law that will go into effect in July. Both LULAC and the NAACP say actions under the DeSantis administration are hostile to their communities. Florida is openly hostile toward African American people of color and LGBTQ plus individuals, the NAACP said. Before traveling to Florida, please understand that the state of Florida devalues and marginalizes the contributions of and the challenges faced by African Americans and other communities of color. Under DeSantis, Florida has banned the teaching of critical race theory, which acknowledges systemic racism as a part of American history and challenges the beliefs that are allowed it to flourish. The governor said the concept would teach children the country is rotten and that our institutions are illegitimate. Oh, do you want him to teach that? I don't understand. He also passed legislation barring instruction that suggests anyone is privileged or oppressed based on their race or skin color. Hey, I am all for that. Because if you're taught you're oppressed, that's messed up. The DeSantis administration has also blocked a preliminary version of a new advanced placement course on African American studies, with Florida Department of Education saying it significantly lacks educational value. Oh, you mean the part that was like something teaching queer Black theory and as part of AP African American Studies? I'm not sure. The NAACP said DeSantis' actions are in direct conflict with democratic ideals that our union is founded upon. No. See, there's where you get it wrong too, because he didn't just use his pen and sign a decree. He didn't decree it. He went through the legislature, and the legislature voted on it. Thus, it went through the democratic process. So I don't know why you're saying in direct conflict with democratic ideals that our union was founded upon. No, they voted on it. And so he signed the laws. That's how aren't you guys always talking about democracy? Why do you hate democracy? Even though, I don't know. Well, I guess the state's more of a democracy than the United States is, but it's still, they're all representative government. Why do you hate representative government? Oh, I know. You prefer mob rule, and only if the mob rule is the way you want them to rule. I get it. Got it. Good. So anyway, that's some fodder. And then also I think, but this is Ron DeSantis hit day because, here's why they're talking about Ron DeSantis too. They've got kind of hit pieces on Ron DeSantis because Ron DeSantis is going to be announcing his run for president pretty soon. So they're digging up all the stuff that they need to make it, fuck DeSantis and all that shit, right? So the next one from Axios, DeSantis 2024 pitch, Make America Florida. I'm sure this is just going to be very complimentary to Ron DeSantis. It's going to make it like, everyone should want America to look like Florida, and maybe I don't know. Let's see how Axios treats this. I'll move it to the center here, just a second here. There we go. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is about to launch a run for president by touting a far-right cultural agenda that casts restrictions on abortion rights, LGBTQ people. I like how they do that. So if you want to restrict certain types of permanent damage care to children to make them feel better for a temporary short time, then you're attacking LGBTQ kids. But if those things are only geared toward kids and you want to get everybody on board, you say, well, he's attacking the rights of all LGBTQ people. Oh, so which is it? Is it just the kids, or is it an attack on LGBTQ people? Because you won't let them dance in front of a kid in a, you know, a costume that represents a stripper, basically. Is that why? All right, so here we go. Oh, and Disney, one of the state's biggest employers, has a blueprint for the nation. Now, why it matters. Here's Axios. Why it matters. DeSantis' long-expected dive into the Republican race has been tailored to try to scrape enough support from former President Donald Trump's MAGA base to win the GOP nomination. But Trump, with a 6-month head start, has built a huge lead in GOP polls. If DeSantis can rally and manage to take out Trump in the 2024 primaries, then the really hard part will begin, selling his Make America Florida platform to move moderate voters to a national election. Wow, that's weird how they wrote that out. On Thursday, DeSantis was reminded of the perils of what he calls his anti-woke agenda when Disney canceled plans for a $1.1 billion development that would have created 2,000 jobs in the Orlando area. Disney has been feuding with DeSantis, a spat that began when the company objected to the Florida laws critics dubbed "Don't Say Gay," which is not what the law is called, which limits school teachings about gender identity and sexual orientation. Yes, in those younger years when kids have no idea that have no way to understand it, of course they do that, and that makes sense. You know, I was thinking about this too because somebody was bitching about, oh yeah, they're banning books in Florida. They're banning books in these, these conservative states. Did you realize, when they say they're banning books, they're not really banning books. They're choosing which books are going to be in the curriculum or the libraries of elementaries and middle school libraries, right? For kids' libraries. They're not banning the books. If parents want to go out and buy those books, with the simulated illustrated porn, basically, those parents can go buy it. They're not banned. They're just not part of the curriculum of the school. It's just like, for example, that's like me saying, okay, well, I'm really upset that they banned Penthouse Forum in my kids' elementary school. I think, that you should not ban those books. So they determine curriculum all the time. Oh, you mean they're getting new math books? Does that mean they're banning the old math books? They're banning books in my school. They're banning these perfectly good math books. No, they're not. They're just deciding what books are appropriate for the kids' school. So anyway, real quick, thank you, Maddie, for dropping a 5 spot in the tip jar, a.k.a. You are the new Streamland Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you. LULAC needs to keep its mouth shut, just like it did when Obama got rid of wet foot, dry foot. They only say shit when it's convenient to them and gets them the most contributions. Well, thank you, Maddie. I appreciate that. And for sponsoring the show. But then Cryptic topped that. Thank you, Cryptic, for sponsoring the show. And Cryptic, you are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. 3 men are on okay, hang on. I gotta prepare myself for Cryptic stuff. Hang on. So Cryptic says, 3 men are on a boat. They have 4 cigarettes, but nothing to light them with. So they throw a cigarette overboard, and the whole boat becomes a cigarette lighter. Excuse me. Good Lord. Okay, so anyway, DeSantis is hinting that he'll likely enter the race next week before a big meeting with donors in Miami on Thursday, the New York Times reported. But he's been campaigning for months, visiting foreign leaders, appearing in Iowa and New Hampshire, and touting new Florida laws that reflect the GOP's backlash. Oh, it's funny. Notice how they say it's a backlash, or as opposed to just some in their opposition to a wave of diversity and equity initiatives. Yeah, look, again, diversity and equity initiatives You got to start way younger than you're trying to. Sorry. We have battled the woke elites in Florida. We have won time and time again. DeSantis wrote in his new book, The Courage to be Free, a familiar refrain he's used in portraying himself as someone who, unlike Trump, he'll say, consistently delivers on conservative priorities. So, that's probably a selling point for DeSantis. There's more on this, but I'm going to skip it. Let's see. Almost done here. What the heck is that? Oh, this is another article on the NAACP and their travel advisory. What the hell's going on with my mouse here? What the hell happened here? What is this? Oh, I think I need new batteries in my mouse because it's very low functioning right now. Just go up there. There you go. What the hell's going on here? Click there. Okay, there we go. Now, apparently Joe Biden is aware that Ron DeSantis is soon to enter the race. And so he's talking about Florida too. So here's one from CNN. This is CNN. Biden bets DeSantis' Florida blueprint will help him flip the Sunshine State and win re-election. He thinks he's going to win Florida because Ron DeSantis. Notice, you always know when the outlet likes a candidate or not by the pictures they use. I mean, they have Biden, who looks kind of normal here, and then DeSantis looks dopey in this picture. They use this picture a lot because they don't like Ron DeSantis. So anyway, Ron DeSantis is going to run for president, talking about his record in Florida. Joe Biden is too. The Biden advisors believe they can hold up what the GOP governor calls his Florida blueprint as a warning to the country about what would happen if DeSantis or any other Republican wins the White House in 2024. A human embodiment, essentially, of Biden's argument that MAGA extremism goes beyond Donald Trump. And along the way, they believe the Florida governor's record may give them a chance at the state's 30 electoral votes. The Biden campaign has quietly started putting campaign cash and efforts into Florida and will decide in the coming months whether to put more as it gauges the president's chances of reversing the reddening of a state he lost by a wider than expected margin in 2020. A dozen top Biden Democratic officials, several of whom asked not to speak by name in order to discuss internal plans, told CNN they're raring to dig in on DeSantis' championing of abortion restrictions, his ongoing fight with Disney stemming from the company's opposition to what critics have called the Don't Say Gay bill, and lifting of his concealed weapons permitting, his crackdown on unlawful immigration, and his consistent railing over woke politics. It's going to be interesting because DeSantis won by 20 points on those issues. Now, does it mean he'll always win by 20 points on those issues? Not necessarily. You just never know who came out and voted. But I know their get out the vote efforts as a panic on particularly the abortion issue has been successful in some places. Well, it's fascinating that could have come up in 2020 or 2022. Was it last year? No, it was 2 years ago. Or 3 years ago, that DeSantis won re-election, but he won by 20 points. It wasn't even close. So it's really interesting to see what happens there. So anyway, Biden thinks that he also can run on Ron DeSantis's Florida happenings, his legislation and whatnot, and be successful. So that's going to be an interesting state to watch. The fuck was that? Can you hear that? Is that inside or outside? Oh, that's in my headphones. That sounds like a squirrel or something. Anyway. All right. Let's finish up here. We got a few left and we'll get going. Rainbows everywhere. Where is that noise coming from? Is that inside or outside? That is so weird. You guys can hear that, right? No, I'm imagining things. No, I don't hear anything. Okay, then it must be outside my house. It sounds like two squirrels fighting outside. But anyway. Oh, you did hear it. It does sound like a squirrel. I think it's somewhere out there. Anyway, okay, sorry. This is an interesting article because Tim Scott is also about to announce a bid for president, maybe as early as today. And so Axios has this article on the rise of the Black Republican. Interesting. This week marks a milestone for African-American Republicans in politics. Senator Tim Scott, the only Black Republican in the Senate, will formally launch his presidential campaign in North Charleston, South Carolina on Monday. Now, wait a minute. Marks a milestone. Why would that mark a milestone? What milestone are they talking about? He would not be the first Black Republican presidential candidate. We've had Herman Cain. We've had Ben Carson. I mean, what's the milestone here? Because a senator is? Who knows? Driving the news. Scott's historic announcement follows a resounding primary victory last Tuesday by Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron, who is seeking to become the state's first Black governor of Kentucky. Cameron, a protege of Senator Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who also is backed by former President Trump, comfortably won a hotly contested GOP primary, even as he faced a barrage of attacks from his top rival. Despite being outspent and losing out on a last-minute endorsement for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Cameron won by a whopping 26-point margin. He's seeking to become the first Black governor in a state where 86% of the population is white.
You're fucking a white male!
Scott joins conservative talk show host Larry Elder as the second African-American candidate in the presidential race. I didn't know Larry Elder even... Did Larry Elder pronounce his candidacy? I had no idea. He offers a compelling alternative to Republicans looking past Trump and DeSantis, and starts out with a hefty $21.9 million in campaign cash from his Senate campaign account. He's a very popular senator, I got to tell you. Why it matters, one of the more overlooked dynamics in our politics is that voters are growing a bit less polarized by race. Oh, are we now? I didn't know that either. Even as they are more divided along educational lines. Republicans have made small but notable inroads with Black men during the Trump era. That momentum has been reflected in a growing number of Black Republican candidates. As we wrote in February, Republicans elected 5 Black members of Congress, all from states and districts with a majority white constituencies. Well, these racist Republicans are electing Black people. That's good. One of the lawmakers is Representative Byron Donalds, who's a superstar, who has emerged as a top conservative surrogate in Congress and on cable news shows. On the campaign trail, Scott will be talking about how his inspirational personal story from cotton to Congress and abiding Christian faith shaped his conservative values. He'll be in Sioux City, Iowa on Wednesday and Merrimack, New Hampshire on Thursday. For the kickoff, his campaign has already reserved $6 million in ads on television and radio, whose early critical voting, in those critical voting states. Early voting states. Scott received his first Senate endorsement this week from Senator Mike Rounds of South Dakota. That's one more senatorial endorsement than Ron DeSantis has secured so far. And then to go deeper, Scott aligned Super PAC Opportunity Matters Fund, which banked $13 million at the end of last year, is also staffing up in preparation for the senator's presidential run. And Axios has learned that veteran Republican strategist Jesse Hunt will join the Scott Super PAC as senior communications advisor. So, now this is weird. Why would they say that Cameron? Okay, down later in this article, they say reality check. Both Scott and Cameron face serious hurdles in winning their respective races. Scott is a sunny optimist in a party in which grievance has been the common GOP currency. He's polling low in single digit. Well, sure, Tim Scott is fighting some bears in this race. Let me just say it. Trump and DeSantis will take up all the air in the room. And Vivek will try to outsmart everybody. But anyway, he's polling low in single digits, blah, 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 blah. Now, Cameron is what I'm curious about. Cameron is facing one of the most popular governors in the country. Is Andy Beshear one of the most popular governors in the country? How would that be? How could that be? I bet you outside of politic heads like me and people in Kentucky, not too many people know who the fuck Andy Beshear is. I'm just saying. Who has built a bulwark of bipartisan support in the conservative state, largely through his effective and empathetic response to natural disasters and mass shootings. Really? Okay. Now, a group affiliated with the Democratic Governors Association is already airing ads tying Cameron to unpopular former GOP Governor Matt Bevin. Cameron will need to raise big money to keep up with Beshear and his allies' financial wherewithal. Do you think? Okay, here's another question for you today. Will the GOP, the national GOP, be any help to Cameron? Will they throw some money behind him? Because they're not real good about that. But it's a state that should, you would think, have a Republican governor. People in Kentucky don't like Beshear. I was wondering about that. Who's one of the most popular governors in the country? I'm not so sure about that. Anyway, the bottom line, black voters have long been more socially conservative than other Democratic voters, but have maintained their Democratic affiliation. This is true. But as our politics polarizes along cultural lines, we're seeing culturally conservative black voters more comfortable associating with the Republican Party. Yeah, because you keep messing with their kids. That's why. Scott is a textbook example of that dynamic. He gravitated toward the party that reflected his values as he entered political life. If his campaign catches on, he'll be uniquely capable of diversifying the Republican coalition. What do you mean? He's already done it. He's come on now. Come on, Axios. Give him some credit already. All right, last couple articles and then we're out of here. In legal insurrection, apparently numerous Democrats joined Representative Cori Bush in demanding $14 trillion in reparations. Trillion with a T-R, illion. Holy shit. When Fox News digital reporter asked where the federal money would come from for the massive proposal, Bush said they were still hashing out the details. Okay. The reparations panel in California is now recommending up to $1.2 million per residence, but Democratic Representative Cori Bush of Missouri clearly thinks that's not nearly enough. She wants a cool $14 trillion in reparations payments. That's more than half the U.S. GDP. For the first, let's see. It said the $14 trillion reparations will eliminate the racial wealth gap. No, it won't. Look, I don't know how she came up with that number. And I don't know how they came up with 1.2 million per person. I know someone was talking about a while back the 40 acres and a mule and how much the average. They were saying that in California they came up with a number based on 40 acres would cost this much money. But wait a minute, it would be the average price of 40 acres in the United States, which would have be about three. They had some $40 million figure, right? And but the average acre of 40 acres would be like maybe $200,000, right? Average is they average like $3,000 an acre. Anyway, so what am I doing here? So for the first time in the extensive history of enslavement of Africans, post-Jim Crow discrimination and other racially charged subjects has been entered into the congressional record, and repairing the lasting damage these institutions cause will have a hefty price tag, according to one Democratic lawmaker. In a 23-page legislation introduced Thursday by Representative Cori Bush of Missouri, called on Congress to adopt several measures aimed at righting historic wrongs, including urging the federal government to issue federal reparations to Black Americans and other reparatory justice efforts. Minimum of $14 trillion will be needed. To eliminate the racial wealth gap that currently exists between black and white Americans, the resolution argues. The United States has a moral and legal obligation to provide reparations for the enslavement of Africans and its lasting harm on the life of millions of black people in the United States. Listen, okay? This also assumes, like, for example, when they talk about generational wealth, okay, how do they assume? So, for example, people who homesteaded. Let's take people who homesteaded, for example. How many of those people went bust? And how many people who the generational wealth gap, right? How many people have generations that completely failed, and so the next generation had to start over again? Sometimes I think the reparation argument is assuming that every single person who was every single black person, but every single person who was a descendant of slaves, if they had not been slaves, that they would have been successful and been, just like everybody else. So, you got to go kind of on averages of the success rate of the average Americans before you even come out with that. I don't know how they come up with this. This is crazy. Anyway, reminded of a classic scene from the film Coming to America. Well, I'm not going to play it because this is YouTube. Anyway, $14 trillion. Hey, I have relatives through adoption that were slaves. If they figure out how to split that up, I'll be here. I ain't holding my damn breath though. All right, real quick. Thank you, Cryptic, one more time for sponsoring the show and contributing to the Marty and Laura travel fund for this weekend. Here it is. Oh, good God. Oh, good God. Okay, I'm going to read this, ladies. Cryptic. Cryptic. Do you know that women are like parking spaces? The good ones are already taken, and the others are either disabled, mother with child, or you pay for your time. Yes! Okay, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but you know what I mean. That's funny. Okay, thank you, Cryptic, again, sponsoring the show. All right, let's finish up with a couple doozies here. So, I don't want to get into any voting conspiracy bullshit because you can't talk about that too much. But there is something in the news. Apparently, there are thousands of non-citizens that have made it onto the U.S. voter rolls, according to a watchdog. In Pennsylvania alone, tens of thousands of non-citizens made it onto the state's voter rolls over the decade. The tens of thousands non-U.S. citizens have tried or made it onto voter rolls across the U.S. over recent years, according to an election watchdog analysis of data from several states. Non-citizen voters have been found on voter rolls in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Maricopa County. Shocker. There were non-citizens who attempted to register to vote but were placed on a pending status because there wasn't evidence of their citizenship, so they didn't make it onto the voter rolls. Pennsylvania has been covering up for years, and tens of thousands of aliens who got on the voter rolls there for 20 years. John Christian Adams, president, I was going to say John Christian Anderson, or no, that's Hans Christian Andersen. Anyway, president of the watchdog group Public Interest Legal Foundation, told Just the News, Noise TV show this week, while also saying acting Pennsylvania Secretary of State Al Schmidt knows the truth and won't tell it. There's a clip here. Oh, that was my stomach. Sorry. Except it looks like it already played through. So anyway, you can check that out. That's and they got some data when they were looking in 2017. There's an article here too that could be tens of thousands of non-citizens who registered to vote in Pennsylvania. He's been researching this for a long time, so this is from back in 2017. All right, let's see here. Let me just do this last couple, and I gotta go. So in California, apparently a person of color torches college students, doesn't even get probation. This is how equity works. While the social justice-obsessed liberal media manufacture race hoaxes to defame pregnant white women, I'll get to that, a California DA has let a person of color convicted of literally setting students on fire at USC Berkeley skate without prison or even probation. So, this is how equity works. A man who was found guilty of lighting UC Berkeley students on fire at a boba shop near the Cal campus in 2020 has been released from custody without prison time or probation after agreeing to participate in a diversion program for veterans, records show. In late April, according to records reviewed by the Berkeley Scanner, Brandon McClone was convicted of multiple felonies in connection with the boba shop attack, as well as felony assault and gun charges from a separate domestic violence case. The resolution of the case was a result of a plea deal between Alameda County District Attorney's Office and the Public Defender's Office. As a result of the deal, McGlone was referred to Veterans Treatment Court according to the Alameda County Superior Court records. If he completes the program, Judge James Kramer said during the April 29 hearing, the case against McGlone would be dismissed. Now, on September 14, 2020, the attack occurred mostly outside of the boba shop, but security footage from inside the shop caught some of the action, which included McGlone dousing his victims in WD-40, then trying to set them on fire with a lighter. Hello, Jay Pylon. And so there's details of that. Let's see. All right, then they just have video of the court. So anyway, so he set some kids on fire, and they said, you don't have to do any jail time for that. That's just in the normal course of business at Berkeley, I guess. All right, now, last but not least, there was this woman that went kind of viral on Twitter a while, was it last week? Because she was arguing with a young brother about a bike, and it came down to her supposedly being this Karen type, and it was, said it was a big racial incident and whatever. She was a pregnant nurse and she wanted a bike, and the guy had the bike. She said she paid for it. The guy said he paid for it and whatever, right? And what happened was her name went viral. She got doxxed on multiple social media. Her family's being harassed, and they even called her job, and she got fired. Well, now, as Paul Harvey would say, if you're old enough to know who the hell Paul Harvey is, and now it's time for the rest of the story. So, Twitter people who are sometimes astute to figure things out debunked a false narrative that white supremacist nurse stole a city bike from black man. A nurse who was 6 months pregnant was put on leave from her job in a New York hospital this week after she was accused on a TikTok video of trying to steal a city bike from a group of young black men. The immediate assumption was that the viral video showed a pregnant woman attempting to steal a bike from that group. Twitter's new community notes function, however, came into play when users started pointing out the absolute absurdity of the story. The question among people who actually know how to think began to be, well, why a pregnant nurse, exhausted after a 12-hour shift at a Bellevue hospital, would try to steal a bike from a group of young men? Meanwhile, vitriol, anger, and hatred, racial slurs were all slung at the woman. She was put on leave from her job, despite there being no indication other than the video that she had done anything to warrant a suspension. We are aware of the video involving healthcare provider off duty away from the hospital campus. The incident in the video is disturbing. The provider is currently out on leave and will remain on leave pending a review. Really? A review of something that had nothing to do with the hospital? As a health system, we are committed to providing an environment for our patients and staff that is free from discrimination of any kind. Well, I guess you better start reviewing. The video is used as a cry of racism, with NBC writing, many social media users pointing out the risk placed on the young black men being accused of wrongdoing in situations involving white women. Yes, they threw out the Emmett Till thing. All right, so here's the NBC News placing that. Well, the brief video, which shows the nurse sitting on the bike while the man laughs at her and tries to take it from her, only shows a portion of the alleged incident, and it shows the diminutive pregnant woman sitting on the bike. The man in a t-shirt that reads "childish" keeps his hand on the bike while he and his friends laugh and say, "You're not getting the bike." Later, the nurse's attorney said that she paid for the bike, removed it from the locking mechanism, and got on it, only to have the young man demand it from her. The video went viral, with many, including notorious race-baiting attorney Brent Crump, suggesting that this pregnant nurse would leave for work after a 12-hour shift and try to steal a city bike from a group of young men, though there were likely other bikes available for rent on the rack. Another available bike can be seen in the video. Crump claimed that the viral video showed that the group of young men were endangered by a pregnant woman at whom they were laughing. The woman called for help, but in typical New York fashion, people looked on but did not get involved. New Yorkers would rather watch someone be robbed than be called racist. A report from NBC News with a newscaster speaking over the video proclaims that the nurse is calling for help even though she doesn't appear to be in danger. At that moment in the video, one of the men who is laughing at her reaches across her, touching her pregnant stomach in the process. So, the narrative that was spun about this viral moment was that the man who is seen trying to take the bike from the nurse just rented the bike. The woman ends up in tears when a colleague comes over and asks what happened, and social media users accused her of weaponizing her white woman's tears. She gets off the bike and moves away. The man said he paid for it, but only days later, the nurse's attorney showed her receipts, proving that she had rented the bike herself. Sarah Comrie, who now has a fundraiser set up on the liberal GoFundMe, has receipts that showed that the number of the bike she was using matched the number of the bike she had rented using the app. The receipts also show that she canceled that ride and booked another one moments later. So she had receipts, but still you have people like Tariq Nasheed. A suspected white supremacist woman tried to steal a city bike from a black kid after he paid for it. And when he and his friends wouldn't allow her to steal it, she went through all the care and taxes trying to get the black youth hemmed up, screaming for help, fake crying, and then he made some Mayo concept. But the tweet got hit with community notes. The woman in the video paid for the bike, and the lawyer provided receipts showing this is the case. Tariq Nasheed's claim that she is a suspected white supremacist is baseless. Nasheed frequently calls people with whom he disagrees suspected white supremacists. And then some other famous names got involved. Matt Walsh came to the rescue and whatever. So anyway, don't always believe what you see in viral videos is the moral of the story. And on that note, is there a second story on this? Oh yeah. Oh wait. There is now. Well, you know the rest of the story, but now there's another rest of the story. Pregnant race hoax victim is going to sue for defamation. Interesting. In the latest Smollett-style race hoax, it involves a visibly pregnant physician assistant who was accosted by a gang of urban youths over an e-bike rental. During the dispute, the woman became agitated and started crying, which the youth responded to her by laughing at her and telling her that her baby is going to come out retarded. Well, that's pleasant. As if the traumatic event wasn't enough to add insult to injury, the nurse's employer, New York City Health, and hospitals put her on administrative leave due to the racialist backlash that they encountered. Race hustlers like Rashad Riche, who has since set his defamatory video to private, and his colleagues at the Young Turks network doxed her and explicitly called for her firing. They also worked social justice talking points about birthing equity or whatever into their attacks. Well, now the attorney for the pregnant nurse, seen in the video fighting over the city bike before bursting into tears, plans to sue every organization that referred to her as a Karen, a racist, and a thief. Sarah Comrie, a physician's assistant, got off a 12-hour shift at Bellevue Hospital. She tried to go home. Okay, we know the story. Let's see. Who are they going to sue here, though? I'm generally not in favor of lawsuits over alleged defamation, but in this case, the lying was so egregious and the original behavior of the youths were so outrageous that Sarah Comrie should sue every media outlet that ran uncritically with the white supremacy narrative into oblivion. If I were on a jury, I would triple whatever damages she requested principal. So who is she suing? That's all I wanted to see. It doesn't say. Doesn't say exactly who she's suing. All I know is that she's going to sue somebody. I think the Young Turks would be a good start. They're the ones who doxed her. So there you go. All right, that's it, guys. This is going to be a little more abrupt ending than normal. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Drop a couple tips in the tip jar. Thank you to today's sponsors, Cryptic and Maddie, for sponsoring the show. A good start to the week. Everyone, have a wonderful day. I'll be back tomorrow around the same bat time, same bat channel. This is time for me to go, though. My name is P Dog Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Hey, this is P-Dog Knight, and thank you for watching today on the P-Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.